and I was admonished by one of the other councilmen that, well, I was only looking at 1 year's worth of cuts. Well, we can only look at 1 year's worth of cuts if that's the case, if it's 1 year. So, I mean, again, you can't have it both ways. It's not possible if we can't look at these line items in the out years and look at those placeholders and realistically assess where we're at. You call it arbitrary all you want, but you know what? These numbers, by their very nature, are arbitrary. So I don't see that would be necessarily a bad exercise to undertake. And I'm flabbergasted that individuals are saying, well, out of one side, that it's only a 1 year budget, we can only focus on 2015, and then attack individuals for focusing on 1 year.
I mean, anybody's been attacking anything.
What would you cut in 2016 right now? Well, I mean, what list of projects, what list of priorities do you have that you would cut?
Well, again, we don't even know what the projects are on the horizon. That's why I asked Laura where these numbers came from. What, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and she gave me the answer that, well, these are placeholders, and some of them, there's small items that we kind of know that are strategic.
We do all the time.
That we are kind of guesstimating what those numbers are going to be, but we don't have anything. Certainly, I don't have anything. I don't think any other members of the council have anything on these out years.
Well, we do actually have a lot because we have an overwhelming number of continual expenses that we do control, whether it be payroll, whether it be health insurance costs, whether it be operational costs due to our infrastructure and our existing buildings.
Okay.
So those are all part of the expenditures. Now, the one things we can't calculate is what year we're going to fund a project. We can put those in projections, whether that comes to fruition or not. What additional revenues are going to be coming. Those are things we can't, but there's an overwhelming number that are things that are controlled and consistent within each and every budget, and I would expect that's the majority of where these projected numbers come from. We understand what the trend is with payroll. We understand because we ask people to maintain that we are in compliance from a benefit standpoint. All these pieces are costs that we do more than throw a dart at and expect it to be this number.
Certainly. But we have some cushion.
Lord, correct me if I'm wrong, that's an overwhelming amount of what figures into your expenditures calculations for the projection.
There's nothing special in those outnumbers. It's basically where we are today.
And that was my point, Steve. I apologize if it didn't come over that way. What we cut from this year were specials. Guess what's not in the projections for 2016? Specials.
I agree.
So that's why it's not an equal thing moving out. That was exactly my point. I apologize if it came off as admonishing or anything else. That wasn't the case.
And I understand that. But I mean, I don't know how much cushion, or I know there's swag in virtually every estimate, in every number for projections. That's just the way that projections in general tend to be, because you want to be able to anticipate unanticipated costs to a great extent. So, 3 to 5% typically on the budgets I've seen and worked on is what I've seen for that swag. Now, what I'm asking is whether or not we can look at an across-the-board decrease of 1.5 to 2%, probably 2% will do it, on these numbers, these projected numbers, okay? Because I think that's part of our swag. I don't think that's necessarily cutting into, critical funding for, operations. And if we do that, I would venture to say that our numbers, our funds available as a percentage of expense, will be significantly higher. And what you'll also find is that we'll still have plenty of money to conduct our operations. I'm talking about 1.5 to 2%. I'm not talking about a significant gutting of any one item.
Christie?
So can we not, would that not be a stated objective for future years? So for instance, in 2015, as things come before us to vote on, to me the answer to that is we tell staff our goal is a 1 to 2% reduction in expenses in 2016, 2017, and maybe it's year to year. I don't know how some of that stuff would work. To me, that's an ongoing management. That's not sitting here and saying, I mean, because really, like he said, the only things that are really probably set in stone per se, or the most set in stone is employee salary. So, I mean, and I don't think that we're willing to say today, we could cut 10 people out of staff in
No.
2016. So that's what I'm saying, I think that's a stated objective and a goal that we
Mhm.
should have, is we want to see a 1 to 2% reduction every year for 5 years, whatever that is,
Mhm.
and then you manage to that. I mean,
Absolutely.
because everything that you do next year will impact those expenses for 2016.
That's fine.
And that's really to Larry's point, when we had that opportunity to lower taxes and everybody checkmarked, there's only one star. I think we all know where that star came from, so when that comes up the next time for reduction of taxes and a reduction of expenses, if that's a priority, that needs to be 4 stars. One person could go for something else, I don't know what that
Yeah.
might be, but that's what drives it, and then, you know,
Mhm.
Larry brought this up. He was alone when that came up at that time, so.
Actually, just in the interest of clarity, Larry insisted that lowering taxes be on the board. Nobody actually put a star next to it.
I did.
No, it's still out, actually, I remember you telling me.
You're supposed to know, right?
You,
It might have fallen off.
well, maybe, no, actually, it was a little,
We need to raise
Dot.
the.
they all pretty much stayed on there,
I
but.
don't know why I would suggest that I wanted to lower taxes on Dot.
And
I just
actually-
remember I had it Dots left over because the things that you guys chose were not of interest to me.
Okay, well, maybe that's the one that you decided. I want to say that you didn't do it because you said that it didn't stand a chance of passing anyway.
Huh, I don't know about that, but
And-
it does, it
Ah,
does speak,
recollection.
it does speak again to the process being a little,
Yeah,
I don't know.
duly noted.
I will agree with Councilwoman Harrison about the need to manage the goal. And, from a expenditures perspective, I think that's very healthy to do, and, would be in favor of that.
Well,
And-
sorry, because I
Mhm.
think that that's something we need to look, I mean, we've talked about looking at self-insuring. We've talked about some significant things that could potentially impact some of these funds, and those are the things that I think we need to start focusing on. And not that, I mean, I don't know if being self-insured really does create an expense reduction, you know, but those are things, those to me are big ticket items that we can look at to drive an impact in future budget years.
I agree.
At this point, I think we've got, I'm just curious as to whether or not we can make a decision about whether this is the budget we can bring forward next week, and if so, are we going to be able to have the votes to approve it so that it's approved on time and published on time
Mhm.
and submitted to the county so that they can submit it to the state?
Mhm.
Steve, you're saying yes. Larry, are you saying yes?
I still have questions about the rest of the budget. We only focused on the economic development portion, so I guess I kinda like the answers first before I commit.
Is that something that requires everybody else here to?
I think it's
let me-
important that everybody hear the answers, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would've
Chris-
emailed them and we would've had a
Yeah.
little
Chris-
secret meeting between me and staff.
Yeah. Christie,
What, not, or what do you ask?
you're not in favor of
No.
approving this budget? Heath?
While I don't approve of the way that the reductions were handled, I think at this point there is a consensus on the council for those reductions. And I truly think that it's our job to pass a budget. I don't think it's appropriate to not vote in favor of a budget unless it's actually something that you find to be either, well, I don't know what those qualifications are. So I would have a difficult time not voting for a budget. There's a consensus on the council. That was the direction that we asked them to head, because at that point, I think we're acting as a group. So, yes, I believe so.
Tori?
I'll be in a position where I'll pass.
Yeah, yes, I would vote for yes, but I still think it's ongoing. I mean, I'm not concerned about the out years, but I feel like it's ongoing that we need to look at them.
Yeah, well, and that's,
But I'm good with this, so.
okay. And is there anybody else here that wants to go through the rest of the budget with Larry?
Well, I'm interested in
Line by
hearing,
line?
I'm interested in hearing Larry's questions. I mean, I think that's
Okay,
fair.
well, it is fair. I'm not